Hi, my name is Mike Dillard, and this is Self-Made Man, the podcast for those who want to leave their mark on the world and create a legacy of honor, integrity, and achievement in every aspect of your life. I'm glad you're here, and once again, it is time to forge your destiny. Search engine optimization. This is a topic that's hardly talked about anymore by entrepreneurs because, well, it's not that sexy, it's not that new, it takes a lot of time, and frankly, it's quite mysterious. But if you take a long-term approach to your business, and if you're willing to feed Google with extremely high-quality content over the next 3 to 5 years, you can create an absolutely incredible advantage and profit center for your business. How big? Well, today we're joined by one of the biggest SEO traffic experts in the world, my friend Neil Patel. During his career, Neil's been a marketing and traffic consultant for Google, for eBay, Facebook, Microsoft, Salesforce, and General Motors, just to name a few. Neil's personal websites currently get over 1.7 million unique visitors per month just from organic search traffic, and get this. That traffic turns into over 1,000 new email subscribers per day and over $400,000 per month in sales and revenue for free. It is an unbelievable asset for any business, but it takes time, knowledge, and expertise to implement. And thankfully, Neil is here today to give you that roadmap. If you've ever wanted to know how to start getting your website ranked at the top of Google in a real and lasting way, this episode is for you. And by the way, if you haven't had a chance to connect with me personally on Instagram, I would love it if you could do that. You can find me over on Instagram at Real Mike Dillard. Thank you so much, and without further ado, please help me welcome Neil Patel. Welcome back. Mike Dillard here, and today we've got a VIP guest when it comes to online marketing and traffic, specifically SEO, Mr. Neil Patel. Neil, welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So you and I have probably known of each other for a while. At least I've known of you for many, many years and have followed your work for probably close to a decade now. And you're one of the best in the world out there when it comes to helping companies get free organic traffic. I believe your site alone gets almost 2 million visitors a month now. But man, that's unbelievable. So I'm excited to talk about that subject and to dive into it today. And it's something that we have not discussed here yet on the podcast in the last 3 years. So this is going to be great.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm like, we can really help your audience grow their traffic. So we'll tell you everything that's working and what's not.
Well, real quick, for those who are not familiar with your background, can you give us a 5 to 10 minute overview of your story and evolution as an entrepreneur and how you acquired this skill set?
Yeah, I started off at the age of 16 trying to find a job. I grew up in middle class America, just wanted a high-end job, like something that would pay 6 figures. I was foolish. I was 16. I was like, yeah, I'm going to become rich. Let me just go on the internet and find a job. And back then there was a site called monster.com. Everyone I think uses Indeed or LinkedIn to find jobs these days. Monster.com was a site that everyone was going to back then. And I wasn't qualified for any of the jobs that paid well. They required certifications, college courses, college degrees. And I was 16. I didn't have a college degree. Heck, I didn't even graduate high school. So at that time, I couldn't find a job. I was on Monster. I scrolled to the bottom of the site, and I was just browsing. I noticed a little stock symbol. I clicked it. I saw their financial numbers. I'm like, wow, this is like $1 billion company. If I just made 1% of what they made, I would be rich. How hard is that going to be? So I decided to create a job board. I went on the internet, found some developers, paid them, got a job board that didn't work that well, but I paid some developers. Once it was up and running, no one was coming to the website. I thought you pop up a website and boom, people are going to use it and you're going to generate income. And from there, I learned that that's not the case, the sad reality. From there, I was picking up trash at a theme park because I didn't have enough money to pay some marketing agencies. So I was picking up trash, cleaning restrooms at a theme park, saving all the money. I paid some marketing agencies. They took my cash, provided no results. I learned it on my own, got good at it, and then my job board back then, I was able to grow to 100,000 visitors per month, which is a lot of traffic 17 years ago, considering, you don't see all these cell phones with internet browsing capabilities, and not as many people were even online 17 years ago. And then from there, I was like, screw it, I'm just going to go back to college, because even though I got that traffic, I still didn't know how to make money. I didn't even know how to take a credit card online. So I went back to, technically I was still in high school, I was still 16. So I went to college, nighttime classes, while I was in high school. My first class that I took was Speech 101, gave a speech on how Google works, got a contract in there for around $5,000 a month, because someone's like, yeah, my company's looking to hire someone like you. And this guy was a sales rep. They got me a contract for $5,000 a month. I was only spending like 10 hours for the work. And I was like, I'm crushing it. Little did I know I was making them roughly $20 million a year.
Wow.
And then from there, I kept getting more clients, because the owner played golf and knew a lot of other people, and his son owned an ad agency. And then I started getting more clients, and that's how my career started.
So you've gone through and you've built a couple of pretty substantial software companies over the last few years. Can you just briefly cover what each of those has done?
Yeah, so the first software company I built was called Crazy Egg. I used to manage General Motors paid ad spend when I was a kid, and we were managing around $5 million a month in ad spend on Google. From the ad spend, around 2 or 3 million of it was profitable. The rest was just like a black hole. They would spend money, get no leads, no sales. And we didn't do General Motors, the car company. We did GMAC, Camping World Insurance, which are all subsidiaries of General Motors, the car company. That's like their mortgage division, their camping, division, at least back then it was. And we were driving the traffic, and we're just like, you guys are wasting all this money. And we lost the contract because I stopped spending money on places that weren't generating any sales. Little did I realize the guy's going to get upset because he wouldn't get that budget for the next quarter. So we created Crazy Egg to figure out, hey, how can we show people in a visual format what's making your visitors convert and what's not making them convert? And then from there, I created another SaaS company called Kissmetrics, and that one didn't work out, at least for me. Being the founder, I ended up getting diluted. No one's fault other than my own. These days, I have an ad agency called Neil Patel Digital and quite a few software companies as well.
So you do a lot of consulting for large companies, specifically around organic traffic strategies. Who are some of the clients that we might know about?
Yeah, from Amazon to Thomson Reuters to eBay to Viacom, NBC. Like the list just keeps going on and on. Got hit up by Microsoft the other day. Have done work for Google. I have spoken at Facebook. Have done work with them as well. But yeah, the list keeps going on and on.
That's amazing. So clearly, you're mildly qualified to talk about what we're going to talk about today.
I hope.
Yeah. So I'm going to just hand it over to you. Organic traffic is something that I've never paid attention to because I didn't have any control over it. Right? If I need to generate revenue in a predictable, somewhat stable manner, I've always turned to paid because I have some degree of control over what we're doing there. But at the same time, if you can create a long-term strategy, because organic traffic typically requires a longer time horizon, it can become this incredible competitive advantage that is very, very difficult to come up against down the road. So one, would you agree with that? And then two, where do you start? How do you put together a strategy and a game plan for organic traffic?
Yep, I would agree with that. Now, you want to take your website as an example? Would that make it?
Yeah, it's going to be a little embarrassing, but let's go.
Yeah, that's okay. We all start off there. But if you look at my paid ad skills and my conversion skills compared to yours, mine suck, right?
Yeah. So, Maybe. I doubt that. But anyway, yeah, let's go ahead because we were talking about my platform. That's one of the reasons I built Self-Made Man. It was to target and build up a substantial base of organic traffic. And this is the first, our meeting earlier was kind of the first time I've had someone's help with your skill set to go through it. And immediately it was like, here's what we need to work on. Here's what you need to change. And here's how you can improve it. And I was like, wow, we've made some pretty big strategic errors so far that you could identify immediately. So
the first thing is anytime you're creating a site and you want good traffic from Google, it takes a while. I'm not talking about a month or 3 months. You're talking about 6 months to a year. The second thing you have a lot of videos on your website. What most people don't know is Google loves video content from the perspective that people watch it, they engage, keeps people on your site, but they don't rank it well. And they never have, and I don't see them anytime soon. YouTube, you can get some good traffic. Like I'm doing YouTube SEO right now. I'm getting around like 600,000 views a month just on my YouTube channel without spending $1 on ads, which isn't too bad. But on the flip side, Google, it's not that easy unless you're willing to create text-based, blog-based content. That's actually the first step is you have to be willing to write. Podcasts, videos don't do well. Even if you're like, haha, I got a trick up my sleeve. I'm just going to do the video transcripts. Doesn't work that well.
Why not? Why doesn't the transcript work well?
People aren't engaging with it. Google looks at user metrics, how people are like engaging with your website. Keep in mind they have tons of data from Google Analytics, which I don't know if they say they use it or not, or if they actually do use it or not, but let's assume they are. There's Google Chrome. They're definitely probably using that. There's your Gmail login that helps them track what you're doing. There's Google toolbars. There's all this stuff that helps them figure out what you're engaging with. And text allows them to figure out what you should be ranking for because it's all keyword based. Plus, on the text side, it's so much easier to get social shares. And people to link back. For example, if you because Google's looking at user signals, like not just, hey, is your code really good? Are people linking to you? Do people like your content? Are they sharing it? People share video content on Facebook, like they'll upload a video, same with YouTube, but they don't share video content from your website like that.
So what are the primary ranking factors that YouTube takes in consideration from order of most important to least?
So YouTube for video SEO, right?
Okay.
That's your question, or is it Google?
Well, no, just your site, right? So when it comes to the written content, the primary reason that ranks so well is because if it's original content, and I'm assuming that's a big part of this, it has to be original. And two, it's a super high quality piece. It's going to get a lot of time on page. So is time on page the number one attribute that they're making judgments and rankings off, or is it something else or a combination of everything?
So if I had to do a toss-up, I would say the number one is either between links, how many other websites are linking to you. Think of it like as a voting system. The president is a president because in theory he got more votes. Now, I know in the United States it's a state-by-state basis, but in theory, the person who's elected to rule is typically the ruler based on the number of votes. Same goes with the internet. If you want to rank at the top, you need to have the most amount of sites linking to you. Like everyone links to Wikipedia. That helps them do really well. And at the same time, the other factor that would be a big toss-up is brand queries. So Eric Schmidt once said, brands is how they separate the crap from the good stuff. I'm butchering his quote because I don't know the exact wording that he used. And he's right, because Google has to deal with like a lot of fake news and what should they rank and what shouldn't they rank. But they know if you have a brand, it's much easier for them to continually rank you. Now, you know this. You do a ton of Facebook ads. You do quite well. Same with the YouTube ads. A lot of people are seeing your name out there. So if you go to Google Trends and you type in Mike Dillard, or another example of this is Sam Ovens. We've probably all seen Sam's ads, or Ty Lopez, right? They have a lot of brand queries of people Googling for them on a regular basis. This is when building a brand and getting people back to your site just really helps.
That makes a lot of sense. So let's talk real quick about the type of content again that you want to post on your site. And I know Tim Ferriss has talked about this quite a bit. Ramit Sethi has talked about this a little bit. But when it comes to getting content to rank, how do we do that?
Yeah, when it comes to getting content to rank, the simplest way to do that is you go and see what does well for your competition. So, if you're looking at your own site, either one, because you have multiple of them, and you go and find similar content around the web. The way you would find it is you can either use buzzsumo.com or you can just enter in your competitor's name on BuzzSumo. So you go to buzzsumo.com and it shows you the most popular content in your space. All you have to do is either put in a keyword like marketing, emails, build a business online, and you'll see the most popular articles online. The second thing that you can do is you would then take those articles, because BuzzSumo sorts it by popularity from social shares like Facebook shares, Twitter shares, etc. You can now see on BuzzSumo, the second thing you can do is you can just click view shares. It's like this little link button that they have, and it shows you every single person who shared your competitor's content. So if you wrote a better version of that, you can hit up each of those people being like, hey, so-and-so, I noticed you shared this article by author X, Y, and Z. I have a similar one that just got released, but mine covers A, B, and C that theirs doesn't. Feel free and check it out, and if you like it, feel free and share it. Cheers. Mike or Neil or, however you want to sign off.
Wow.
And you'll start getting the social shares. And at the same time, in BuzzSumo, you can put in your competitor URL, and it also will show you all their most popular articles sorted by social shares. So you can put in like HubSpot or whoever your competition is. So that's how I find the most popular content. And then to rank it, I do the outreach to get the people who shared my competition's content to try to share mine. And then the second step that I do is I take that link, that URL that everyone shared, for my competition, and I put it into a tool called Ahrefs, ahrefs.com. And that tells me who's linking to the content. See, now that you got these two pieces of data, you can then reach out to every single site that linked to your competition and get them to try to link to you because you wrote a better version. So those two things combined is what will get you the rankings in the long run.
I assume that a critical piece of this puzzle is the quality of your content, right? Like you really want to write something that's complete, that's super useful for people. I would probably say longer rather than shorter, so that you have the opportunity to get into enough detail to really make it a great experience. And the more evergreen it is, the better, right? You don't necessarily want to talk about a news story that happened last week because it's not going to be relevant again 6 months from now. What's your advice around that?
You're totally right. It's about the quality of the content. You don't want to talk about like a news story that's really old and no one cares about anymore. It's about finding amazing pieces of content that people just want to read. And that's not easy to solve because you got to figure out what is that. And most people don't know what it is. And there's not a simple answer like, oh, this is what you need to write on. Like, you have to figure that out. And that's the hardest part.
Now, what about people who in the past have suggested that you go find great content and you have someone change 20% of it and you repost it, right? Or maybe you even just take their article, half of it, the first half, and then you put a link that says click here for original source, right? I still see people doing that today. What's all of that about?
Yeah, you can do that. It's people who don't want to create their own content. It's a good way to get some traffic, but you're not going to get a lot of traffic from Google in the long run and you won't rank well.
Do they give, I'm assuming, a lot of brownie points to the originating or, source of any content, right? Where they can see, oh, this is original, this is new, and maybe it gets copied or propagated 5 to 10 times on other, sites. Are they penalizing those people? Are they giving you more credit? How do they weigh that?
Yeah, you don't get penalized. So if other people take your content, you're not going to get penalized. If you take someone else's content, you're not going to get penalized. You'll just find that your site will be low quality in the eyes of Google and you won't rank well. Doesn't mean you can't get social shares. It just means you're not going to rank well on Google. How
often do you want to be posting, and is that considered in their ranking system?
It is. You want to be posting, I would say, at least once a week. If not more, ideally, you would probably want to post something like 3 to 4 times a week.
Okay, so that would require, at least if you're the business owner, you to outsource to some writers, right?
Yeah, you'd have to use things like Upwork or ProBlog or Job Board to find writers, or you yourself could try to figure it out as well, right? By just writing, which is a pain, and I don't think most people want to do that.
Yeah, well, that's such a challenge, because you writing an article about anything that has to do with online marketing is going to be 10x what another writer could do who is not in your shoes, right? So how do you handle that? How do you handle outsourcing to writers knowing that the content's going to be a fraction of what it could be?
I like writing myself, but yeah, you can make it up in doing quantity. If you look at HubSpot, they're the most popular marketing blog on the internet. And they just do it in a ton of quantity, and it makes up for the mediocre quality. Look, they're worth $4 billion or $5 billion at this point, right? I don't know what the price is, but something ridiculous. Actually, it's $5.39 billion. So they're doing something right that we're not.
Well, let's transition to that, right? Because the whole point of getting traffic is, well, I guess it depends on your business model. If you're selling advertising, then great. More traffic equals more revenue. But most of us are not, selling ad space. We're selling a membership or an ebook or a physical product, maybe a supplement. And that's the trick, right? You're getting 1.7 to 2 million visitors a month. How do you transition those visitors into paying customers?
Well, let me ask you a question first. If you had a paid ad campaign, if you bought 100 visits from Facebook or Google, I know the quality varies a lot, but assuming you're getting good quality visits, how many conversions do you get?
We're shooting for 3%.
Is that from 100 webinar registrations or 100 visits?
Out of 100 webinar registrations, we've typically found, at least for our webinar, 50 people will show up. And out of the 50 people that show up, we'll probably get 2 customers. And that's for a $1,500 product. So
you're getting 2 sales for every 100 webinar registrations from cold paid ads, correct?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And how many visits do you need to get those 100 webinar registrations?
That is a good question.
Or what's the conversion rate from visitor to webinar registration? 20%, 30%?
I was going to guess 15 to 20%.
Okay, so let's guess 15%, right? So if you're at 15%, you need roughly 666 visits?
Mm-hmm.
All right, and that'll get you 100 webinar registrations, which will give at 15%, and that'll get you 2 sales. Now, here's the thing with organic ads or organic traffic. It does not convert anywhere near those numbers. It just does not, because when people search for you organically, they're coming there for information. They're coming to read a blog post because they may have Googled like what is SEO or how to do online marketing or how to create a funnel. On the flip side, when someone watches your Facebook ad or YouTube ad and it's a video, they're primed to convert because you already pitched them on that video. They click over, they register, like, boom, you're off to the races, right?
Right.
So it just doesn't work as well. But here's the thing, you can get traffic in large quantity. And from there, what you do is you just want to direct people to being like putting call to actions everywhere, from your sidebar to within your navigation, being like, hey, I have an upcoming webinar. Click here to go and sign up for it. I get roughly 1.7 million unique visits. All right. So you can generate 15% of your paid traffic into a webinar registration. So I'm getting right now 1.7 million unique visitors. Out of those 1.7 million unique visitors, I can generate around 18,000 webinar registrations on a bad month. So that's roughly 1%. Technically, it's a bit better than 1%, but let's just say it's 1% to keep the math really simple. So if I'm at 17,000 webinar registrations or 18,000, whatever you want to call it, and out of my registrations, I can end up generating 2% of them into sales. That's 360. So 360 at $1,500 product, that would be around $540,000 in revenue. Plus, you should assume what my guess is a 20% refund rate.
Yep.
That sound right? So you're at $432,000. So to give you an idea, even though I'm getting a lot of traffic, I'm only in theory generating $432,000 worth of revenue from that traffic.
But it's free.
It's free, and that's the amazing part about it, and it's consistent.
Right. Right. So that's the moat that I'm talking about earlier, because for you to have to compete with that is crazy. Like, it's just this huge advantage that has to be earned. You can't buy it, right? You have to earn it.
And for someone to generate $432,000 in sales from even paid advertising per month, that's really good, correct? I don't know.
Sure. Yeah, I'd assume so. Yeah, you're doing something right.
So if you're doing something right, you have a $5+ million business a year, but probably half of that is your ad costs.
Yep.
So it's like here, it's not pure profit, but it's close enough to it because it doesn't cost as much to get all that free traffic. So in the long run, you benefit. In the short run, you don't because it's a lot of work to get the rankings. But, I just wanted to give some color because everyone's like, oh, wow, you get so much traffic. Well, I'm like, well, you don't squeeze as many webinar registrations as you may think.
Yeah, it's, again, the numbers are in your favor, right? But there's a website out there that is in the real estate niche. It's doing really, really well. They get a ton of free traffic. BiggerPockets.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with them.
Yeah, and they've been around for 14 years now. And if you look at the amount of free traffic that they get, I don't remember the exact number, but I know it's substantial. It's just turned this thing into a really, really valuable asset. Again, because the owner has stuck with it for 14 years. They've been building up content there. And it just creates this multiplier effect, basically, for the value of the business that is hard to compete with. So I think that this is a strategy that everybody needs to pursue if you have a long-term goal and vision for your business. If you're like, hey, I'm going to be building this business for the next 3 to 10, 15 years, this is something that you should absolutely add to your priority list. And so if someone is like, okay, Neil, I'm sold. What do I need to do? What would you recommend? Is it calling you first and foremost to get a really specific strategy in place? Or is it more general where you can say, step 1 is go do this, 2, step 3, that kind of deal?
Yeah, so we do work with companies. We tend not to work with companies that are less than 10 million a year in revenue. Every once in a while, we'll do ones that are less than that are venture funded. But even in general, our deal client is even at 10 million in revenue. They're probably doing somewhere in the, at least 20, 30 million range, if not 50 plus. Like, for example, we do the SEO for Agora and some of their divisions, right? So when we look at this is if you're starting off, I wouldn't recommend hiring someone. I would just recommend figuring out how you can pop up a WordPress blog and just create a shit ton of content that's amazing. And the way you can base what's amazing is go to BuzzSumo, type in keywords in your space or your competitor sites, and make sure your content is better than whatever's ranking at the top of BuzzSumo, because they'll show you the most popular articles. And then you just hit those people up, ask for shares. And then from there, you put in those same competitor articles into Ahrefs. You see who links to them, and you beg for links. And you have to really grind it out because you'll email like 100 people and you may get like 5 links or 3 links, but it purely is a numbers game. And if you do this for like 2-3 years, that's when you do well. Like everyone looks at neilpatel.com, like, wow, you're getting so much traffic. Well, I've also been around for 4 years now. So it's not easy, but the beautiful part is, in theory, if I was to sell ebooks, I can generate around 400,000 plus a month in revenue after refunds without having to pay for the traffic.
And all of those steps that you just mentioned can be and absolutely should be outsourced if you're the business owner.
Exactly. You don't have to do them yourself.
No, that would be a bad use of a founder's time for sure. But I think hiring a virtual assistant to do that for whatever, 10, 20 sites a day, done. Easy, piece of cake. Very cool, very cool. So what else do you think we need to know when it comes to this subject that we haven't covered yet? That's
where I would start. I could give you like 50 tips, but if I give you too many tips, no one's really going to end up taking action on all of them. So I gave you the one that I know that'll be the most impactful and doesn't take as much effort in the short run.
Let's talk about converting that traffic and those visitors into either a customer or a list subscriber, right? They're going to opt into something. Either that's through a purchase or maybe it's getting them on your email list. What have you found to be the most effective when it comes to that? Are we looking at a big, bold, full screen pop-up, or are we looking at...
Yes, exit pop-up. That works the best. And content upgrades. Are you familiar with content upgrades?
No. Walk us through that.
A content upgrade is you have a blog post. Let's say it's like 10 ways to double your search engine traffic. And then within the first few paragraphs, I'll put like, download the cheat sheet on 10 ways to double your search engine traffic. And you'll get a lot of email opt-ins for that. So you combine those two things. Like, for example, with my blog, at 1.7 million unique visitors, I can conservatively collect 2,000 new emails a day on a bad. Could be a weekend or a holiday. On a great day, I can even collect over 3,000.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's amazing. It makes me, man, like I've been doing this the hard way with paid. So
Yeah, but you're doing paid, you're warming people up and you're sending them directly to a webinar opt-in, which converts extremely well. I don't know what emails convert at because I don't sell anything to my list, but I don't know how valuable or non-valuable that is.
yeah, no, it's pretty valuable. I don't have it broken down on a per email basis, but our average, we launched Self-Made Man in March of this year, 2018. And so in our first 6 months, our average customer value is over $1,000 at this point. And that's with a really unorganized approach, right now. And so, I don't have it broken down by email, but that's, I think, pretty darn good for 6 months in.
That's really good.
Yeah. If we can get that to, I've actually, well, I don't know if I can say this or not. A very, very, very big publishing company out there, $100 million plus publishing company. Their average customer value at the 6 month mark is between $200 and $400. So we're doing something right. But if we were getting that traffic for free, it'd be even better.
Yep.
Awesome.
But, no, the model works. It's just don't expect it to convert as well as paid ads. And it's all about collecting those emails to like exit pop-ups, content upgrades, and those are the main two ways, or just drive people directly into a webinar.
Do you have any preferred or favorite tools when it comes to the exit pops? Are you using Bounce Exchange or anything like that?
I use a free tool called Hello Bar, which I was one of the early owners of a long time ago. I myself, on a lot of my pages, use Bounce Exchange, which is expensive for most people because I think their pricing starts like at $10,000 a month.
Yeah, I don't understand their business model because maybe you can fill me in on this. I don't know why someone would be willing to pay that much unless you're just getting an unbelievable amount of traffic and you don't have the time to set up a split test yourself.
Well, their ideal customer is like a JetBlue or a Lufthansa.
Right.
So for them, they're like, look, you do $50 million a month from your website in revenue. I'm making
Got it. So $10,000 is nothing. Yeah.
Exactly. And for them, a lot of those guys are paying like $400,000 or $500,000 a year to Bounce Exchange. I think Bounce Exchange is pretty big. They're probably getting close to 50 million in revenue, if not more. I know that a lot of their numbers are public. But with it makes sense because they're A/B testing it. They're coming up with ideas and the concepts. It works really well for the big companies. Now, everyone listening here, it doesn't make sense because it's like we all can install the exit pop-up software and do it ourselves.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing how something that our little community invented like 10, 15 years ago and we all take for granted was turned into this massive SaaS company?
Yep.
It just blows me away how the elusive obvious, right, can be turned into just a massive business. And it's a lesson that I keep having to remember because you and I specifically can take so much of our knowledge for granted. And we would just think, why would anybody pay money for this? It's free. It costs $30 to get like you said, a script installed. And then yet here are these other clients that are huge. They're too big to know about it. They're too big to put the time in or learn about it and pursue it. And yet, bam, you can revolutionize their business overnight, basically. So
totally.
Yeah.
But no, that's what I love about the space in marketing, in which it's all how you package something, right? It's not even the solution. Like if you think about what people sell on webinars and courses, a lot of it isn't even the material. A lot of it comes down to how you package it. I'm not saying the material is not valuable. I'm just saying a lot of it really does come down to the packaging more than anything else.
Yeah. It's kind of along the same vein. I'm still blown away to this day by the fact that when I go to buy a book on Amazon, I buy all three formats typically. I buy the hard copy, I buy the Kindle version, and I buy the audiobook version because I want to be able to have access to all of those. Maybe I'm traveling, whatever it may be. And yet when I go to Amazon to buy a book, I'm never offered the other formats really as a strategic upsell or even as a bundle. Like, why don't they offer all three of those to me at one time with one click? Because that's the offer I would take. And I think a lot of other people would do the same as well. I
agree with you on that.
Interesting. We'll have to hit up Bezos here.
Yeah.
Let him know what's up. Very cool. So any other final tips that you can share with folks here that maybe they're takeaways they can go ahead and apply today that you think would send them in the right direction?
that's all that I can really think of that would help and be super actionable. I don't want to end up grounding them to giving them tons of information on stuff that I know most people won't do. And on top of that, even if I gave you the information, if you don't do the basics with the content, almost everything else doesn't work.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any favorite places to find good writers or to find a virtual assistant?
Go to jobs.problogger.net. It's a job board where most of the good writers hang out.
Cool. That's super helpful. There you go. Well, Neil, this has been fantastic. It's an eye-opening area of marketing that, again, I've never pursued, but that's on the agenda and the priority list now that we're, have a long-term vision for Self-Made Man and what we're building here. You mentioned earlier that your ideal consulting clients are folks who are doing 10 mil a year plus. If someone wants to go learn from you and they're not at that point yet, maybe they're just starting out, what's their best option?
neilpatel.com. And it's a blog. Everything is free. There really are no paid options. It's just I give it all away for free.
Wow, there you go. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This has been fantastic as usual, and it's a pleasure to be able to have you on the show here and to call you a friend and a colleague. So thanks so much for the time today.
Yeah, no problem.
Absolutely. Well, guys, check out neilpatel.com and dive into what he's posting there for free. It's absolutely amazing. And see if you can study, what they're doing from a marketing perspective when it comes to those exit pops and things like that as well. I know whenever I come across a really smart marketer who's having a lot of success, I always screen capture things. I would do a video recording and I add them to my swipe file so that I can go back and reference those pieces of knowledge essentially and examples when we're ready to implement those strategies. And I would highly recommend that you do the same. So thank you so much as always, and we'll see you next week. Take care.